Welcome in, everybody, to Spectre and Spooks podcast. I am your host, Brooke Ashley. Kim is not with us today. She is working on some health issues, but we have an amazing guest today, and I would like to introduce you all to an amazing author, paranormal investigator, pet communicator, medium, Rob Gutro. Welcome in, Rob.
Hi, Brooke. Thanks for having me tonight. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween. Absolutely. For everybody around here who's watching's favorite holiday. So welcome in. I'm so glad to have you. So for those who aren't quite sure about you, you are a best-selling author, 11 books so far. Is that correct?
Actually, just published my 13th book.
Oh my gosh, we're on 13th. And I know that I thought you were at 6 bestsellers. How many is it still at 6 bestsellers?
I'm actually 6 number ones, actually.
Number ones. Oh
yeah. Yeah. And actually, I'm honored and humbled to say that all of them have reached the bestseller list on Amazon, which means they got into a top 100 category. So
that's amazing.
I'm just glad that people are reading them because I wrote them to educate people on how the paranormal works in terms of how I experience it.
Awesome. So why don't you let everybody know a little bit of background on yourself and what kind of got you into this space of mediumship?
Well, it's a different space than I'm used to. So in my career job, I'm actually a meteorologist, but I retired happily 1 year ago this week. So I can devote my full time to writing books and doing pet readings and so forth. But my background over the years it spans a long amount of time. So when I was 13, my grandfather appeared to me out of the blue 7 months after he died, scared the life out of me.
I'll bet.
Yeah. And I had a conversation with my parents, told them everything. My mother told me that it runs on her side of the family.
Okay.
So so she had it, she was afraid to use it.
Yeah.
And her dad that appeared to me had it. So that was a startling kickoff. And then many years later, in 2005, I had a puppy named Buzz, and he was a Weimaraner, and he was tragically killed by a car at 7 months old when his leash opened.
Oh my goodness.
And he reawakened my abilities that I had just ignored.
Yeah.
And he taught me how pets communicate from the afterlife.
I love that. So it kind of spurred on from that moment and just got stronger and stronger for you. I know that you have books on pet communication. How do you feel like pet communication differs for you in terms of other types of mediumship that you do or paranormal investigating? What do you feel about pet communication that would be different or bring something different to the table?
Well, one thing is unconditional love.
Yeah.
I don't think humans are capable of it.
I'd agree.
Yeah. So that's actually why I decided to focus only on pets. But I do use my mediumship to communicate with earthbound ghosts on investigations, and I try to help cross them over.
Right.
But spirits, the ones who I call spirits, the ones who have crossed over, ghosts are earthbound. I make that distinction. So. The last reading I did for spirit was for a man who turned out to be an abusive, alcoholic, physically abusive man, and it was too much for me.
Yeah,
too much baggage, and it's hard for me to tell people that kind of stuff in an email. People that I don't know, people I've never met.
Yeah, sensitive.
And yeah, it was a powerful experience and frightening for me actually.
Yeah.
And it was I felt even worse when she confirmed everything that I got.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm done with people. I'll do pets.
Yeah, it can get pretty sticky, and it's a sticky situation dealing with people and their loved ones because those are complicated relationships, right? They can get really complicated. So when you are on that note, when you are paranormal investigating and you walk into a building that tends to have a lot of well, energy, whether it's residual or whether it's intelligent, whatever's going on in that space, how do you approach that when you're paranormal investigating? And maybe you could also talk a little bit about your work with the Linville Manor and the Emery Estates. I find that kind of fascinating.
Sure. So my first rule is that I don't want to know anything about the property before I go in there, and I don't want anything to influence what I'm getting. So that's number one. And number two, I actually carry around a notebook with me, and I write everything down. And then I'm able to see ghosts sometimes in my mind, and I sketch them out. So people find sketches in my books of what I have what I see. Um, and then we do questions and answers and so forth. And so I will convey what I'm getting, and then will the tech person in my latest investigations, I do them with Monique Too Soon. She is a seasoned pro when it comes to technology,
Yeah.
and she's also fun because she decided to 15 after 15 years of doing it, she decided to do investigations in drag. And it causes confusion with the ghosts. It makes them much more active, and she has such a great sense of humor. And so working with her, she's such a professional. We have been able to confirm all these ghosts that we've encountered. Um, so confirmation is very important to me too.
Yeah. Definitely. So with these two locations, I know you've done many, but with these two in particular,
Mhm.
because you have written a book on both, is that correct? Both of these locations?
Yes, and
Yeah.
actually, interestingly enough, both books just came out this year in
Nice.
2025, and this is Emery Estate.
Perfect.
And
I saw that one.
there's
I'm
Monique.
like, oh, I'm just itching to read the Emery Estates. So I'm like, I've got to get into that book. But what do you find the differences in the hauntings in both of those locations? Do you find one to be a little more malevolent or one to be a little more active than the other? And what are the differences that you found?
So the haunting of Emery Estate was quite active. There were three earthbound ghosts that we encountered, and it really is all dependent upon the personality of the ghost, the personality they have in life. We ran into a little boy who died accidentally on the property.
Oh, no.
We ran into a ghost who was decided to attach himself to a mirror out of love. That's an interesting love story. And we ran into a man that lived on the property, and he was a, well, nasty, controlling, horrible person.
Mhm.
And he really upset the investigation at the end.
Yeah.
So there was that. Um, in terms of the Linville Manor book, that was an investigation I did with another medium back in 2021 named Troy Klein. He's a really gifted guy. And my husband, who's also a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
And we were called in because there was suddenly the appearance of a really um, daunting figure in the basement. As it turned out, they had just done a renovation, removed part of the original foundation.
Mhm.
That stirred it up, and
Yeah.
that's what I because I kept asking questions, and they timed it back to that. So we had to negotiate with that ghost. We had to cross another ghost over in Linville, and we met about 10 altogether there.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot of energy for one space, definitely. And I'm sure that you feel all of that too. So when you're headed into a location, how do you stop yourself from getting overwhelmed energetically by what's going on around you? Would you have any rituals or anything of that nature that would help that?
There are a couple of things that I like to do. I like to envision myself surrounded by a cocoon of white light, positive energy. Sometimes I will go to a tree and ground myself. One of the things that Margaret Ehrlich, the founder of Inspired Ghost Tracking in Maryland, likes to do is give everybody chocolate
Yeah.
because it raises endorphins, makes us feel good.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not so bad to leave chocolates for the spirits either. I find offerings can be kind and nice and calm things a little bit, just depending on the intention behind it as well. Yeah,
It's hard
definitely.
not to eat them all, though.
Right. You don't want to bring an offering and then end up you eat it all and then you just make them more mad than when you came
Right.
in there. So when you are crossing over a spirit, what does that entail? Is it different for different locations? Does it depend on the belief of the spirit person? Do you have to do different things for different souls? How do you kind of approach that situation?
So to me, it's like marketing the other side. To- And I always tell people that it think of someone that you don't know coming up to you as an earthbound ghost and saying, "Hey, you don't know me, but um, I can help you, and I can connect you with your loved ones in spirit on the other side
Mhm,
if you'll just follow my direction, because I just
mhm.
want to help you."
Yeah.
Well, if they don't want to be helped, you can't make take
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right? So one of the ghosts in Linville, in the one in the basement, he did not want to be helped. Even though he said he missed his wife and his daughter, um,
Mhm.
he was so adamant about staying there and clearing his name for something he was falsely accused of
Uh-huh.
that he wanted to stay. We couldn't cross
Yeah.
him over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what it entails is it we have to pool our physical energies from living people and try to concentrate on opening a light. Sometimes we contact or we connect to the ghost energy and then connect through a living relative in spirit
Mhm.
and try to have them convince them. Um, and that's basically how we do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you must have crossed a lot of ghosts over.
I haven't actually. I've not had experience in doing that. When I paranormal investigate and I go in as a medium and I'm doing paranormal investigation, I like to listen very closely. I
Mhm.
listen to what's going on. I try to listen to the story. I try to figure out, okay, is there something going on here that is different than what has been being told? Like, are we missing something? Is something being missed? So it's really about figuring out for me who's in this space. And then if they ask for help or I hear help or something of that nature, I usually call somebody else in or just let the owner know,
Mhm.
just because it's not something I personally had experience doing and I don't want to mess something up. So I figured I probably should learn from other mediums who've done it first before I go in and mess with things. But I always say, and I agree with that too, that notion that you can't make them cross over. You can only lend help for crossing over because I always say it's like if we have free will as human beings, why wouldn't we have free will on the other side as well? You know what I mean? It only makes sense that if we have free will in this world that's so seems so matrixy, and why wouldn't we when we're freer, go to the spirit realm also have free will as well. So I agree with that completely that you can offer that help and you can try to be there, but you can't make, a spirit crossover. Um, do you have any idea about like how many you may have crossed over, or just does it kind of become all meshed together for you?
It does kind of it does kind of just come together, but I would say probably I don't know between 20 and 30.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, including a dog. I did cross over a dog that decided to
Puppy.
stay behind. Yeah, and the way that I did that was kind of cool because I remembered because I'm a dog dad. We have
Yeah.
dogs. As you could probably tell by looking behind me, those are the covers of my books, and four of our dogs in spirit are all on the covers of each book
Oh,
because they all
that's
have their own stories.
that's so cute. I love that.
But to do that, so when I had a dog that decided to stay earthbound for a while after he passed, which is very unusual,
Mhm.
we opened the light, and then I asked her what his favorite treat was, and it was a begging strip. And I took the begging strip and I threw it to the light where we had the light open, and he ran
Oh.
right into it.
Oh my gosh, that's just gotta warm your heart so much too,
Yeah.
just experiencing something like that, you know what I mean? Because 'Cause you're right, pets are they're so pure. They're so pure and just beautiful little creatures. I have never
Mhm.
personally had a pet reading, and, I feel like one of these days I should probably attempt to do that because I have a few in the spirit world,
Oh, wow.
quite a few in the spirit world. And I've just never sat down to get a pet reading before. And I find that it can be hard to find a good pet communicator. You know what I mean? One that's really can dig in there, because pets do have such simple lives. So it's not that complicated, tray of stuff that humans bring. It's more simplistic. It's more, beautiful. So I just find that I think that that would be such a good healing thing for so many people because pets are family. And
Yes.
there's so many people out there who miss their pets so dearly that maybe
Mhm.
don't even know that pet communication exists, pet mediumship exists. So you're doing the good work by putting the books out there and making sure that people know and understand there's a space for that as well.
Yeah, and in throughout the books, I teach people what signs to look for and how their pets are communicating, and that nothing is a coincidence.
Yeah.
And um, when I do pet readings, I'm astounded actually by the amount of information that pets will share with me.
Mhm.
Um, there, I have a whole bunch of stories that I could tell you about crazy messages that pets give me. Um,
What's the craziest message you think you've ever gotten from a pet?
well, there were three actually that come to mind. One is giving me a number 512. Another one is about Taylor Swift, and then another one, um, uh, another one actually typed out a message while I was doing a reading, and I had my microphone on, but I wasn't saying anything, and it typed out eight different things specifically, and I totally understood what they were saying, and so did the pet parent.
Oh my
And I
God.
watched the words type. My hands were up.
Mhm.
I was fixing my headphone and whatever, and I'm watching the type come out. And that's happened twice with two different dogs.
That's fascinating because I think that sometimes people don't realize how spirit, whether it's pet or person, can manifest during the reading. I've had some wild stuff happen during readings, getting poked, plants being knocked over, like getting my hair tugged, things like that. It's wild. It's amazing how impressed upon this world they can be when they are blended with your energy, you know?
Yeah, they really do, and a lot of them share with me the pains that they experienced before they passed.
Yeah.
I've solved a lot of mysteries, if you will, of how pets passed. Actually, I just did an email reading for a woman in South Africa for
Mhm.
her dog, and she wondered. She said that they found out her dog had some kind of a septic blood disease that came out of nowhere, and so the dog, I was asking the dog what happened to you, and suddenly I felt like something bit me on the ankle. I'm like, oh my gosh, what was that?
Yeah.
And a tick came into my mind. Now, I didn't know if South Africa has ticks.
Mhm.
I don't know. I live in Maine.
Yeah.
we have ticks.
Right.
So I looked it up. I stopped and I Googled it. I said, does South Africa have ticks? And it said South Africa has like 9 varieties of ticks.
Oh, wow.
And then um, I uh, uh, I went through and I looked up what diseases that ticks will spread in South Africa, and one of them had all of the symptoms that her dog was showing.
Oh,
And I said, your dog has just confirmed to me that he was bitten by a tick on his left back leg. So she wrote me back and she said that makes perfect sense because he favored his left back leg in the last weeks of his life.
yeah.
So
Wow.
that blew me away.
Yeah. It's
Um,
wild what will come up. It really is absolutely incredible, the things that can come up in that way. And, it you know, what I find with pets too, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I've experienced it, and I don't think I've really, like, brushed it past anybody else to see if they have too, but do you notice that when pets passed away, for the first little bit, they're very impressed upon this world due to their owner, like, worried about their owner? Because I know, like, it's like, is it my mind? Because I know you have a scientific background, so I know you can weigh things logically, right? Is
I
it my
try.
mind that's making me see the shadow of my pet out of the corner of my eye for the first couple months after they pass? Is that like me so used to them being around that it's like manifesting these visions, or is that really my pet, you know? Yeah. What
That
are your
so yeah, so that would be your pet.
yeah.
So what happens? I find that 99.5% of all pets cross over immediately because our loved ones in spirit, our human loved ones, and our other pets that preceded them are waiting for them.
Mhm.
And and pets have an innate sense of who is good or where is a good place or a safe place. Unlike people, we just deny things.
Yeah.
We're like,
Red
oh,
flag, you know?
we know the place is really haunted and it's dilapidated, but we'll go in anyway.
Yeah, right.
So pets cross over, and when they cross over, they learn, not only from human loved ones but other animals that have crossed over, how to come back and give signs. So they will come back as quick moving shadows. And I always explain to folks that shadow figures are not evil things. When you look at the science of energy, what they are their energy with memories and personality. And if they don't have enough energy, they'll appear as a shadow. If they have enough energy, they'll appear in full color.
Right. Right. I remember seeing, I don't know if you watched this show or not, but Paranormal Caught on Camera. And there was a clip that a woman sent in of her cat caught on camera sitting on the couch. And then when the light got turned on and the light, like it went from like, black light, or, being able to see in the dark, and it goes
Mhm.
to gray, when the light got turned on, it disappeared. It was the wildest thing. I just thought, oh my gosh, that's amazing. When she saw that back on her camera, she must have been elated, the cat to just be sitting on the couch like that and the camera to pick it up. Yeah. With your scientific background, how do you feel about things like cameras and technology picking up on things that I think that people like us have been saying for generations, you know what I mean? It's really there. This is true. It's with us. We feel it. And now we have
Mhm.
this technology all over the place that kind of makes it hard for people to deny that. With a
Mhm.
scientific background, how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel that that works with the technology and everything else? What's happening there?
I think the technology and the science is finally catching up so
Yeah.
that eventually we'll be able to say the paranormal is normal.
Yeah.
And technology is the way that we're going to provide evidence and prove things. And, as you know, we've done that with digital recorders, with EVPs, with
Hmm.
infrared cameras, with high-speed cameras, with all this great equipment. Um, and Monique uses the Phasma box. It's a program on the computer
Hmm.
that takes out all the white noise and provides just words. Um, and on that Emory Estate investigation, we asked this little boy to say hello to Monique, and the words came out, "Hi, Monique."
Oh my gosh, that's
And
wild.
the 20 people sitting around in they were public ticketed investigators. They were all, they gasped.
You gotta love when you put on an event like that and they show out, like
Yeah.
proving to the people in there that, hey, there's something to this. Cause I can only imagine going to an investigation. Because look, ghosts and energy and whatever you want to call it, it's not there for our entertainment necessarily, right? So you may get a quiet night. So when you get something like that and people are around to witness it, is such a amazing feeling, because you know that all these other people, because it's so, people are so quick to dismiss your evidence even if you have it. Oh, you
Mhm.
superimpose that, you made it up, things of that nature. So it's nice when you can have a public event and
Mhm.
you can bring people in who can experience that kind of thing themselves, so they don't have to question, the validity of things like that. Of course, there's always going to be skeptics,
Oh, sure.
and yeah, always. So do you have any ticketed events coming up, Rob?
Yes, we do. Actually, I have a couple with Monique. One is December 20th, and it's in Massachusetts. It's at the S.K. Pierce House. And she has been there before, and that's going to be a ticket investigation. And then there's another one in a lighthouse in New Jersey. I think it's Abascon, New Jersey, near Atlantic City, in April. And that one's very limited to only 20 people because the lighthouse is, of course, very narrow.
Small.
So those are two, but I'm actually getting ready. January 1st, just finished writing, just finished proofing this. My second investigation with Monique is called The Haunting of Hunt Memorial Library, and you get a sneak peek at the cover. Nobody has seen this
Oh,
cover yet.
oh my gosh, that's so cool.
um, what's interesting about that is that we did the book signing for the Emory Estate book at the Hunt Memorial Library because it's an event venue in Nashua, New Hampshire, and the woman that manages the event venues said, "Yeah, you can do a limited public investigation because she said she's sensitive and she said she has encountered a couple of ghosts. She wants to know who they are, what they want, and so forth." So we did that. Last January 11th, we did it. There were 20 people who showed up, and they each had some experiences, and we ran into three ghosts there, and we crossed two of them over.
Mhm.
Um, one actually was used to visit the library, and the other two never visited the library. So
Interesting.
yeah, and
That's interesting. Do you ever find that some of the people or some of the spirits that are in that space are there before the building? They're attached to the land. Yeah.
sometimes yes. So in the Hunt Memorial Library one, there was a teenager who died when the building was being constructed,
Mhm.
and we found that out, and he gave all kinds of clues that we were able to put together. So yes, in the Linville Manor, that has ghosts from different centuries
Mhm. Yeah.
because the first house stood there in the 1600s, and then the house burned down in 1849, and then the new house was erected by 1852. I
Mhm.
didn't know any of that, by the way. But when I went in the backyard, before I even went in the house of the Linville Manor in Maryland, I felt like my hair was on fire. And I was yelling to the other investigators. I'm like, is my hair on fire? And I'm trying to pat it out. And I'm like, why my head is on fire and I'm super hot. And one of the other investigators said, no, there's nothing wrong with you. And I said, okay. And suddenly a woman came to me and she said, this is me. I died running from the house and my hair was on fire and I was running toward a body of water. Now I didn't see a body of water, but
Mhm.
the homeowner later um, confirmed that there was a body of water that you couldn't see down the hill.
Okay.
Um, and so another medium came in behind me the other day in our team, and he said his face was burning up. He was hot. He said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, you're talking to the woman that I just met."
Yeah.
So, so yeah, and so she's still in the new mansion, even though she died in the old mansion.
Right. Yeah. I can find that too when I notice that when I go to certain locations. People from the building, people who lived in the building, people who did business in the building, wherever you're at.
Mhm.
But I always tend to, before I even step foot in the building, assess the land, almost like the energy of the land first, because I want to go as far back as I can first and then
Mhm.
move my way forward almost as I'm going into the building, because it helps me with my timelines, a little bit as well. Um, but I know that when as a medium in those spaces, so we talk about things like clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, clairaudience, all of the clairs that we use, right? And for highly sensitive mediums, when you walk into a space like that, I find that clairsentience can be the toughest one to have because you're physically taking on these things, you're feeling them. It can be overwhelming. Sometimes I'm like, just I'd rather just give me a clairvoyant image. Like, just
Yeah.
I would like a clairvoyant. It will make today a lot easier for me because it can get really taxing. Have you ever had to remove yourself from a location due to the clairsentience being overwhelming for you? And where was that if that happened?
Oh gosh, yes. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Whew.
It was,
That'll
yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
It was like 10,000 people, 10,000 men screaming at me for attention.
Oh my goodness, that is
Yeah.
overwhelming.
And
Very did you have to, like, remove yourself from the area for a moment to try to collect yourself?
I did, yeah, and I learned something interesting is that the ghosts, they're all, of course, soldiers in the Union or Confederate. They would at night they actually retreat into the forest canopy, just as they would in life, to
Mhm.
hide from the opposition, and that's how they stay. No, because normally the ghosts that I deal with are in structures. They pick a structure, but because you're in a battlefield, you have to pick an enclosed space to stay. Um, yeah, so that was one place.
Yeah.
Um, have you ever been to Pennsylvania?
I haven't, and I've been once. I went to Philadelphia for a mediumship, basically like a 3-day mediumship thing with my mentor, Cindy Kaza, at the Sound Mind Institute in
Oh
Philadelphia
wow.
for a few days, but I haven't had a chance to really discover it. And I keep telling people that I could probably spend a couple months in Philadelphia and not get bored when it comes to paranormal. And I have so many ties ancestrally to Pennsylvania. Most of my ties are Pennsylvanian. And Titusville in Pennsylvania, I'm a Titus. So my grandpa's middle name was Titus, and his mother was Grace Mabel Titus. So I have a lot of ties there. So if I ever get a chance to go, I would love to, but I would love to hear what you have to say about Pennsylvania.
So some of the most haunted places I've ever encountered are in Pennsylvania. Of course, Gettysburg,
Mhm.
over the border in Maryland, Antietam. That's another one,
Yeah.
and these Civil War battlefields. But New Hope, Pennsylvania, which is on the Delaware River, was so incredibly oppressive with its energy that my husband and I had booked B&B there to stay one night, and because it looks like a quaint town.
Yeah.
We got there the minute we pulled in into the town line. I said we can't stay here.
Oh,
We
wow.
absolutely can't stay here. I've never felt that way before, other than Gettysburg. Um, and so we walked around the town for maybe 45 minutes, and I said, I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
We came across a bridge that span the Delaware River to New Jersey, and it turned out that a lot of people would commit suicide there.
My gosh.
That is also close to the spot where Washington crossed the Delaware during the Revolutionary War, so there were a lot of deaths there. So between the suicides and the war deaths and everything else, Brooke, you can imagine the energy there was just overwhelming.
Yeah, extremely, I'm sure. And it's kind of interesting to me because there are places that must have such strong energy that way, but they don't people don't even notice them. And it makes me wonder, really makes me wonder, what is it about that location that's so steeped in that thickness of energy
Mhm.
that it just stays, whether it's residual or whether it's like active, but like, water is a conduit. So is that
Oh yeah.
something with that particular, river a conduit? But then you think of something like the Murder Castle in Chicago, from H. Holmes, and it's just a little, like, there's nothing really on the land anymore. It's a fence and a yard and then, like, a little post office, and you wonder if people are feeling that when they go to that space, like, "I don't know what's up, but I gotta get off this block," you know?
Yeah.
So, I wonder if some areas, the water, like, not only is the water a conduit, but the things that happen literally in the water, like people jumping into the water to end their life,
Mhm.
or somebody being drug into the water in battle could intensify
Mhm.
the water itself, which is already a conduit, making it so much thicker. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that would. Whenever there's emotional energy, as you know, that it just leaves an imprint somewhere, and if people are panicked, if they're being murdered or whatever, that imprint is going to stay in that water. especially along the banks or right in that vicinity where it happened. So I always tell people that most of the haunted locations, most of the haunted towns have rivers or
Mhm.
oceans or something, lakes near them. Um, but another thing that just came to mind was groundwater. Groundwater, we don't know, like in a small town in the middle of Illinois, for instance, even if there's no water around visibly, there's groundwater underneath that can continue to generate the energy to keep those ghosts active.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to a location. I live in Washington State, so I went to a location. The shop owner, who I work with, I do readings out of his shop sometimes, and him and his girlfriend have become very close friends of mine. And his mom's property, I mean, he was just, it's always been that way, but since her husband had passed, it had become out of control for her. She needed help. So he brought me onto the property to see what was going on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just saw literally like a rushing river underneath the land. Like the land is there, but I know water is underneath here. And he was like, you're right. My stepdad used to brag about the fact that he could drill 6 feet down and he would reach water. And I'm just like, it's
Wow.
charging this whole place. Like I felt like there was fae. I felt like I was seeing spirits. I felt like it was nuts on that property. And I'm like, it's gotta be the water. There's a little trickle of a creek like right behind, but this felt like a rushing river. Like if I was to look at it, it would be like a rushing, like raging river underneath the house. And so it's just like, am I seeing it that way because the water that's underneath the house is so highly charged, or is that possible? It's just wild to me. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
agree with,
wow. That's a
yeah,
great confirmation. um, yeah, and it is important for people to know that energy sources don't have to be obvious.
yeah, definitely.
A- And the other thing too that I find is, so when I define ghost versus spirit, ghost I say is earthbound and spirit crossed over. But and what I define them in terms of is energy usage too, not only usage but emission. So they both use heat, light, water, and electricity that I have found. But the difference is earthbound ghosts and use negative emotional energy like fear, anxiety, depression, and anger, and those strengthen them.
Mhm.
And spirits who've crossed over, like our pets and grandparents or whatever, they use love, faith, and hope. Um, so that's why whenever a grandparent or a pet is with you in spirit, you feel calm or you feel peaceful.
Mhm.
Conversely, when you go into a haunted house and you feel anxious,
Mhm.
it's because that ghost has negative emotional energy that it's been absorbing and it's emitting the same negative emotional energy. So it makes living people more anxious, more angry, more short tempered, more depressed, and so forth. And I always tell people that if you have an earthbound ghost, please cross them over for your health
Mhm.
as well as the health of the ghost.
Right, definitely. I agree with that. Do you find that there can be different levels of what's going on in terms of the haunt or the intelligent spirit, so to speak, that's in the space? Because I have rabbit holes of theories. I mean, I don't know exactly what the truth is, of course, but I have these rabbit hole theories. And one of them is that maybe the person in the space when they were alive is pouring so much of that energy, just pouring it into the space. And then
Mhm,
it can become like an aggregore of themselves. And then
mhm.
maybe they pass away, and that aggregoric energy that now is behaving as if it's them is stuck behind in a space. I feel like there's a million theories that could kind of happen. Do you ever feel like what you're dealing with could be a collective of energies that have created um, its own entity, as opposed to necessarily a person that was in the space?
Like an intelligent haunt versus so yes, so I call that an emotional imprint. And if that imprint is strong enough, you can sense the type of person that lived in the room,
Mhm.
um, and even their attitude. because that also emotion is impressed within the walls of a structure. So
Yeah.
yeah, totally
Yeah.
agree with that.
With all of the kind of paranormal stuff that you have been involved with and you have done, have you ever kind of come a little further out into the country, maybe mid or more towards the West Coast to do any paranormal investigating?
I went as far as Tombstone, Arizona.
Yeah, that'll do. That's haunted.
Yeah, that's extremely haunted. That's actually the topic of one of my books, The Ghosts of the Birdcage Theater on the Medium's Vacation.
Okay.
Uh, but so, and that one has a really crazy story behind it too, and that involves a past life that I didn't know I had. Um, so have you been to Tombstone?
I have not yet. The
Okay,
most of the locations I've gone is Butte, Montana. I love Butte, and Minnesota, Washington State, Port Townsend, things of that nature.
okay. Well, you need to go to Tombstone.
It's on the list, I promise you. So how
So
did this all come together with this
this is
book? And
so this
yeah.
is the book. In That's me on the cover of the book, dressed up as Wyatt Earp in 1994. Because after I saw the movie Tombstone with Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer, something looked really eerily familiar to me. I couldn't understand. I've always loved cowboys since I was a kid.
Mhm.
I didn't know why. I mean, I grew up in Boston. There's no cowboys in Boston. So
Right.
so when I saw Tombstone, I I must have seen it probably 10 or 15 times in the theater. And I said, there's something really oddly familiar. So I convinced a friend of mine to go the next year, 94, to go to Tombstone with me to see the town because he loved the movie too. So in order to see it in a crazy way, I went dressed up as Wyatt Earp. He went dressed up as Doc Holliday. And we wanted to have fun. So here's two Yankees, going to Tombstone. And if you remember back in 1994, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah,
There was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing as cell phones. Um, there were, you couldn't get anything. If you didn't get a book out of the library, you didn't get it.
right.
Um, so when we got to Arizona, when we flew into Phoenix, they gave us a state map, and the state map was like really big, and Tombstone was a tiny little dot. So all we knew about Tombstone was what we saw in the movie, which was filmed in Tucson at a lot. So um, and a tiny dot. So that's it. That's all we knew. Um, we parked the car at the end of the town. Birdcage Theater was the first thing we saw. We stopped in front of the Birdcage Theater, and um, we were trying to get our bearings. Somebody came up to me and said, "Hey," he thought I worked there as a reenactor.
Oh, nice.
I
Well, you did it
later
right then.
I later learned that they do reenactments every day of the shootout at the OK Corral. So there are a lot of people dressed up, in cowboy garb from the 1880s. I didn't know that at all because you can't, there was no internet. So
Right.
the guy came up to me and he had a family with him and he said, "Hey, how do I get to the historic courthouse?" And I looked right at him and I said, "Well, you go down this way, you go 2 blocks, you take a left, you go 1 block, you take a right, and it's on the left hand side." And my friend just looked at me and said, "What the heck did you just do?" And I couldn't answer him.
Oh my
So
god.
we followed my directions, and sure enough, that's exactly where the courthouse was. So I
Were
knew later, 10 years later, that I lived there. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Did you know you were a medium at the time that this happened? No,
No.
so that's gotta be like a real aha moment for you, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
So,
amazing.
so I went back in 2021 with a friend that lived in Phoenix, a different friend, and he didn't believe in ghosts. And I saw that the Birdcage was offering ghost tours. And I said, "Hey, you want to go? Now that I have medium abilities, it may be more interesting." So he said, "Sure." Well, Brooke, we ran into 11 ghosts. And the person that was leading the ghost tour was able to confirm every one of them.
Wow.
And they shared pain of death with me. I sketched some out. My friend saw two of them.
That's wild. That must have spurred you on as a medium, just saying there is something like this is it. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
wild. Is there a specific location that you feel growing up maybe triggered that love of paranormal for you? Is there a space like that for you?
Other than being scared to death of the basement in my parents' house, no.
Hey, you know what? I'm telling you, all of us mediums experienced it. I don't think if you got us in a group, we could all tell stories around the campfire about our basements.
Yeah, I used to run upstairs.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah.
like sideways or backwards, right? So that nothing could grab you. Yeah,
Yeah.
right? And kids are so much more sensitive naturally anyways, you know. I always say that everybody has mediumistic abilities in a way. Everybody has
Mhm.
an innate connection to the spirit world. I feel like
Right.
it belongs to us. It's innately ours because we're not a human having a spiritual experience, we're spirit having a human experience. So we're already connected. We just don't know that we're connected, you know.
I love
So
that. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So it's just, and kids are so open
Mhm.
until society gets a hold of them and tells them they're
Mhm.
nuts, you know?
I always tell people that children and pets have the ability more to see spirits who visit or earthbound ghosts because their logical minds haven't been developed. They haven't been taught that everything needs a reason, everything has to be explained. They just trust their intuition, and that's why kids can be talking to their dead grandmother. And you walk in and they're like, "Who are you talking to?" "Well, grandma." And the parent would say, "There's nobody there," but the kid would say, "Yes, there is." Um, and I have a great example of that, a personal example. Um, a friend of mine and his wife that I met at a pet reading that I gave at an animal rescue. That's one thing I do, by the way. I do fundraisers for animal rescues,
Oh.
and give a lecture teaching people how their pets communicate. So this one guy and his wife came to a rescue event, and they had just lost their dog, and um, they were just a mess. And he had contacted me before. He said, "Would you be able to somehow connect to my dog? I know you don't do it that way in person, but," he said, we're having a hard time getting through this." So I said, "Sure." So I connected to his dog, and I told him about a blue blanket that was his favorite, and sure enough, there was a blue blanket that was his favorite. Um, so he and I befriended each other, and I'm very close now with their family. And he sends me messages all the time. He has a 3-year-old boy who has seen his dog Popeye many times, and sometimes he will say, "Dad, Popeye is going in this room," and suddenly something electronic in the other room would just go off. So yeah, so kids absolutely can
Yeah.
see the spirit.
It's wild. Yeah, it's amazing. I know that when I am doing readings, it's incredible how much that people's loved ones want their loved ones to know that their kids see them. Like I'm playing with my grandchild or my great grandchild. I want you to know that I'm there. Like, so they'll say, talk about how her son saw me in, near the closet. I didn't mean to scare him, and they will make it known in the reading. Like, talk about how their kid is open and how their
Mhm.
kid is seeing. And I like to do that because I think what it does is if I can get to enough people in my readings where that's happening or being brought up, it can take the sting out for children when their
Yeah.
parents are prepared and being told that, hey, this is real. Like, believe them when they're saying this. I think it takes the sting out for kids a little bit, maybe not being told so much, no, that's not real. And instead, their loved one has been told through a medium that, yeah, it is. So there may be a little more fostering of that and it doesn't die out so quickly, with the child. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great to encourage. And and I have talked to people who have said that, they were in a very religious family, and the religious family thought they were talking to demons and all this
Mhm.
malarkey, and
Mhm.
so they had to try and shut it off, and so they didn't have a chance to use their gifts. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it's so important to offer support for anything. I mean, we all have our own gifts,
Yeah.
and it's not for us to judge others at all. We need to be encouraging. We need to be welcoming, and we need to teach people that you are who you are, and you are a loved person, no matter
Yeah.
what you are.
Yeah. A little more compassion in life, you know?
Yeah,
Just compassion all around for sure. Definitely. I agree with that completely. So, in your work, how have your colleagues kind of taken your mediumship side of who you are? Because I know you're a meteorologist. You were a meteorologist, correct?
I retired a year ago this month. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did they, because I know that people work in that space can tend to be a little more skeptical. Did they, I'm sure they know you're a medium and an author. So how did they kind of compartmentalize that?
Yeah, skeptical and high strung. So I just didn't tell them. I really didn't tell them. There were I told a couple of very close friends that I had this ability, and they kept it to themselves. They were very good. I did make so one thing I did. I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing I do want to caution you with anybody who's got these abilities. Um, Make sure that you can trust somebody before you decide to try and help them.
Mhm.
We had I had a boss who had just come into the office, and her father-in-law came to me. I didn't know I don't know anything about her family. Father-in-law came to me, showed me all kinds of things, said he was happily busy on his workbench on the other side or whatever, and just to hold on to his tools and this, that, and the other thing. So I struggled for a while about whether or not I should convey this message.
Mhm.
And stupidly, my heart went out over my head,
Mhm.
and I told her. Then she tried to get me fired.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and she was just a nasty person. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
just be cautious. No matter how
Absolutely.
much you want to try and help and comfort somebody,
Yeah.
really think about it.
It definitely, because you don't know how it's gonna be received, and I'll tell my students all the time, when I do beginner's mediumship, we go over ethics and things of that nature, and in that,
Hmm.
I let them know, or I give them examples as to why this could be a problem or blow up in your face, right? So I always tell people, just err on the side of consent and you won't have to worry about it. Just err on the side of, hey, if this person wants a reading, you tell their loved one, hey, if you really want them to get a reading from you, you find a way to get them to me or another reputable medium, because the spirit world is so capable of doing so many incredible things. So I'm like, hey, I got a website. I've got this, that, and the other. Get them to me so that they're coming to me and asking so that I can give. Other than that, I stay away from it, because you don't know if you're going to re-trigger someone who's trying to disassociate in their pain of their lost loved one. You don't know if they're religious. You don't know if they're a skeptic. There's so many factors that go into it. There really are. Yeah. Uh-oh. I think we lost Rob for just a second.
Just a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Where is the mouse? Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I I have a little mouse so that I can mute my mic, because my dog is here, and he's coughing a lot.
Oh, buddy.
And the mouse fell off my keyboard under my desk.
Of course. You gotta crawl underneath there.
I was like,
My
okay.
bones and joints wouldn't be having any of it, I'll tell you that much.
So sorry about the pause there.
No, you're okay. So if
Oh my
you
gosh.
had to kind of summarize your work, and some, which is hard to do because there's a lot of amazing work that you've done and put out there, but if you had to summarize your work, I would say, I would want to ask you kind of, where do you see from all that you've done and all that you've written, the books you've put out, the things that you've been a part of, where do you kind of see that going from here? Where's the trajectory for you next?
Um, I'm always going to want to help people, comfort people with their pets who pass. Um, so there's that, and I do have a passion to help ghosts cross over, and I also have a passion to teach to teach people about the paranormal. So my recent partnership with Monique, doing public ticketed events to make people experience things, is
Mhm.
really beneficial because it helps educate. It's actually like being in a classroom on hand.
Yeah.
Um, and in the upcoming book, the Hunt Memorial Library that comes out January 1, the 20 people that were on that investigation witnessed a crossing over. Now, not many people have witnessed a crossing over.
Yeah.
Um, and they also witness confirmations and how these paranormal investigations work, how we need to treat people on the other side. Um, and and one of the last chapters I decided to add into this book was reactions from people who actually attended, and I think that's really important.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I feel like with that said, we can kind of lead into the closer of the evening. And I just want to kind of ask you to let everybody know where they can find you and what you have coming up so that they can come and see you or get your books, whatever, and all compassing, because I'm sure you're a very busy person.
You can find me under my desk when I drop the mouse. Yeah. No, you can.
Robsdesk.com. I don't know.
There you go. You can find me at robgutro.com or petspirits.com because people sometimes don't know how to spell my last name. You put an H in it, put a W in it. It's all good. All my books are on Amazon. They're in Kindle, they're in paperback, they're in audiobook if you want to drive, but you miss the pictures if you get an audiobook.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
yeah, I do pet readings. I do them on the weekends. Right now I'm booked out about 10 months. But I try to get them to them as fast as I can. And everything's on robgutro.com, and I have tons of events.
And
That's
they
why I
can find all
retired.
those events on your website too, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, Rob, it was amazing having this conversation with you. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show. So thank you so much for being here. And everybody, you can catch Rob on his website, all of his events, all of the things he's doing, book a pet reading, all of those wonderful things. And thank you, Rob, so much for being on tonight. And I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brooke. Happy Halloween. And
Happy Halloween.
you made my night. You
Oh,
really did.
thank you so much. All right, guys, you have a safe and happy Halloween.